So, you've come back for more, You completed my beginner's guide, and now you reckon you're ready for an intermediate guide. So welcome to the intermediate survival guide. In this guide, I assume that you're past the beginner level, and now you're looking to do some extra things other than just surviving throughout your first Don't Starve year. Now, first of all, we're going to go over settings again. At this point, you should probably want to be kiting extremely well, and to kite extremely well, you need to turn lag compensation off. You might also want to turn distortion and screen shake off. You can change backpack layout so that your backpack appears under your inventory rather than to the side of your screen, and the biggest one is auto pause. Auto pause can be really annoying. Whenever you open the map or the menu, the game will automatically pause if you're the only person on the server. Now this is annoying for me because what I like to do is I like to click so that my character starts walking, then I like to open a map at the same time so that I continue walking while I'm looking at the map. And for those of you wondering how I keep moving while the map is open, that's how I do it. Next is mods. Now I have two links in the description with two different sets of mods. One link has a collection of mods that I would recommend to all players, and then there's another list that I would recommend to only people who really know what they're doing. Only because if you're a beginner and you use some of the intermediate mods, it makes the game easier and you might rely on them. Now, world settings. Now, the only setting I'm going to touch on the world is setting the starting resource variety to classic, because I don't like tricky trees. Otherwise, this is a large world, default settings, etc. And we're in. So of course we're gonna choose Wilson because I want this to be a general guide. So the reason I choose Wilson is because no matter which character you can pick, you will be able to do what I can do. Now because you're an intermediate player, you should probably just play whatever character you want, whatever you have most fun with, or even start branching out to one of the characters that require a bit more skill to play, like Wanda, maybe Wolfgang. Now in the starting days, your first goal is to get a stack of grass, a stack of twigs, and find at least 2 flint. We're going to talk a little bit about world generation, because gold is the next thing that you need, which is very essential. And you will always be able to find gold in the mosaic biome, and the mosaic biome is always attached to the biome that you spawn in. So what this means is if you just go around the perimeter of the starter biome, you will eventually find the mosaic biome. And once you do, you want 1 gold for a science machine, and then you want 4 gold for an alchemy engine. In this playthrough, we are planning on a ruins rush, but you can still dig up grades for a chance at a blue gem, a red gem, and maybe some gears if you're lucky. Now your inventory management skills should be pretty good by now. Since we have 4 gold taking up 1 inventory space, we may as well get a stack of gold. So we're going to keep mining so that we have a stack of rocks and a stack of gold, while also lighting trees on fire for some free light. You might find that by the time you get a stack of gold, you'll have too many rocks, at which point you could just pre-craft a fire pit for later. You've got enough golden rocks, so now it's time to start exploring. So if you haven't already, jump down a sinkhole to grab 2 light bulbs, then come back up, and every time you see a wormhole, jump through it just so you know where it goes. And as we're doing here, we're going to continue jumping down sinkholes so that we can start mapping out the caves, or so we know the general idea of where the caves are, and maybe where the ruins are later. And then I so happened to spot a bunny village. Bunny villages can be pretty damn close to sinkholes, so it's pretty likely that you'll find some. So we're going to knock down 2 of the bunny houses and keep the materials for when we build an alchemy engine. Since you get half the materials of whatever you hammer, hammering down 2 bunny houses means you can make 1 bunny house. And of course, I expect you to be using torches and running around at night rather than sitting next to a campfire. Okay, our next goal is to find pig houses. Now, where can you find pig houses? Pig houses can be found in any forest, so any turf that is dark green, that means there's potentially pig houses there, or next to Pig King. But you'll probably find a forest before you find Pig King. And the forest also has a bunch of other things. It has spiders for silk, which is very good. It has a lot of densely packed trees, which you should set fire to a bunch of them, since you're going to want more than a stack of charcoal soon. But as soon as you've hammered down 2 pig houses, throw down an alchemy engine, make a hand bat, a football helmet, a lantern with the 2 light bulbs you got earlier, and you can pre-craft that bunny house which you hammered down 2 of earlier. And I would recommend leaving this alchemy engine here until you're going to leave this biome, because we are going to want to pre-craft a crockpot, but the trees are still burning, so we haven't got the charcoal yet. And in this pig village, I happen to find Chester as well, so that's pretty nice. Now, we do want all the pig houses that we can find, so since it is evening / night, we can fight these pigs because every time we hammer down their houses, we only fight 1 at a time. I was a little late to the handbat party, but there we are, we have the handbat now. And we're going to pre-craft the bunny hutch, then smash down the alchemy engine and the science machine. And when you smash these down, make sure you pre-craft another one to save you some inventory space. Now that you have a weapon and armor, it's time to decimate all of the spiders and all of the pigs. Now you don't actually have to kill the pigs, but you want to steal their houses and you want to take out all of the spider nests that you see. Now if you happen to come across a level 2 or 3 nest, make sure to bait all of the spiders out of the nest first and kill them in groups of 3 3 rather than just going and hitting the nest. Because if you do that, then like 10 or 11 spiders will come at you all at once, which is, yeah, you'll probably die. Anyway, that nest was actually guarding the terrarium chest, so we have the terrarium now. After collecting 46, yes, exactly 46 charcoal, back to the alchemy engine, we're pre-crafting the crockpot. We're also going to pre-craft a sign and a chest. I also made a butterfly net and caught some fireflies during the night, and we'll be using those later to make a miner hat. But now, we're not going to be putting down the alchemy engine again until we know where we want to base. So this is the part of exploration where you should basically just map out where everything is. So you can smash down some more pig houses, you want to find the moonstone forest, which will have your guaranteed Mactus camp in it for winter. You want to find Pig King and Glommer's statue, and you'll want to find the swamp to get some reeds. But now it's day 5 and we're fighting our first boss. So this Eye of Terror is actually amazing for even beginners. I didn't include him in my beginner's guides because I said we weren't going to kill any bosses. If you're a beginner, you could totally do this boss. He's relatively easy, he's quite slow, pretty easy to dodge. The only caveat is that you spawn him with the terrarium and he only spawns at night. So you're going to have to keep spawning him every night and fighting him until he dies. And we'll talk about his drops after we kill him. Next, we need to make our magic machine. So we're going to catch 4 rabbits. Watch carefully how I catch these rabbits, otherwise don't be afraid to use a shovel to dig up their burrows to force them into your traps. Put down that science machine that we pre-crafted, use the silk that we've been collecting to make a top hat, then pre-craft a pressed hat adhere. Now this science machine we're not going to need anymore, so just leave it there, you don't need to smash it down. And now let's spawn the Eye of Terror again. So now we're going to talk in depth about how to dodge this guy's attacks. So if you look very carefully, before he does his dash attack, he kind of winds it up by kind of doing a backflip and flipping upside down. He'll also occasionally lay an egg, which takes some time for it to hatch into a minion. And now we've got him to low enough HP where he has entered his second phase. He does the exact same attacks, except he just dashes a bit faster. All he has to do is walk perpendicular to where he's charging and summons more minions. And he also has a melee attack where he just bites the ground and does some damage. This one's kind of hard to dodge and I don't usually dodge it. Otherwise, dodge the dash attacks, kill the minions, and then attack the big Eye of Terror. Now, since the night is so short, the minions probably won't hatch until the boss actually despawns. So that's why during this night, I'm ignoring the minions and just attacking the boss. But darn it, he despawned again before I managed to kill him. So anyway, continuing exploring in forests, we found a living tree. This can give you 3 living logs when you chop it down and dig it up. And these are essential. We need 3 living logs at least. And hey, we found a swamp. As you can see, I'm kind of looking at the map now because I'm thinking I might have found a good base location. So we're going to grab some reeds and then, oh goodness, it's raining and the Eye of Terror is here. But I spawned in pretty late, so you know. He wasn't there for very long. But as you can see, I did make a fresh football helmet because my old one was close to breaking. And now it's time to base. Now, a lot of you wanted the specific way I place my crock pots. So let me hop into a test world so I can show you exactly how I build my kitchen, aka 6 crock pots and a fridge. I did turn on creative mode because I'm just showing you. Anyway, so you want to center your kitchen between 4 tiles. So I'm going to dig up these 4 tiles just for demonstration. So now you have 4 tiles and you're going to put down the crock pot first. So let's start from the bottom left. So from the bottom of the bottom left tile, you're going to count up 2 places, 1, 2, and place that down. Then you're going to do the exact same but on the bottom right. The bottom of the bottom right tile, 1, 2, build that one there. So now if we go to the center of the 4 tiles, we can go across and you'll see there will be a space available right on the line. So we're going to put that on there. And then the exact same for the other side. And the top is exactly the same as the bottom, so go to the top of the top left tile and count down 2, and it goes there, and same for the top right. Go to the top of the top right and then count down 2 and the crockpot goes right there. And then you can put your fridge right in the middle. Now I can open the crockpot and have the fridges open at the same time. So I can hold down shift and put food directly into the crockpots. This makes cooking food a lot faster, and if you're making something like meatballs or pierogies, by the time you fill up your 6th crockpot, the first crockpot would be done cooking. Now I don't actually have any gears yet, but this doesn't matter because we're gonna do a ruins rush where we'll definitely get some gears. But I will tell you now that you do guaranteed have 2 gears on the surface. This set piece always spawns in every overworld, and it has 1 clockwork night, and that's where you get the 2 gears. Now with the reeds, make 2 papyrus, gonna throw down a bird cage exactly in this position just because it will look nice later, and we're gonna feed some of my spoiling monster meat to the bird to get some eggs, and we're gonna start cooking up a bunch of pierogies. And of course we're gonna be fighting the terrarium boss again once he spawns tonight, so we have healing food for that now. And we'll make a garden rigmajig and we're gonna place it here. Now rather than telling you exactly where everything in the base is placed. Here's a picture, and there's also a link to this picture if you would like to look at it in the description, if you would like to zoom in. This is my perfect mini base setup for beginners and intermediates. Although for the advanced guide, I will be making an updated version of this. Now maybe tonight will be the night we're gonna defeat the Eye of Terror. Now our handbat is getting a bit stale, but it doesn't matter. We're gonna keep using a handbat until it's about to spoil because it's just a weapon with infinite uses. But the most important drop is the helmet. His helmet is basically a football helmet, except you can repair it by feeding it food. And the best thing to feed it is monster meat. So 80% damage reduction with a decent health pool. So now instead of making football helmets and using up loads of pigskin, you can just use that helmet. I know I said we should use that helmet, but we're going to take 2 football helmets and our pierogies and the ingredients to make 1 extra handbat and some grass, twigs, a pickaxe and a hammer, so we can make more football helmets, more pickaxes. And we're going to try to find the ruins. Now, I'm not going to go into specifics on how to find the ruins. If you need help trying to find the ruins, please go watch my ruins guide, which is linked in the description. There are some really good tips in that video, but in general, find the muddy biome, and then from the muddy biome, find the lichen biome, and from there, you'll find the ruins. But otherwise, we're here doing a ruins rush, so we kind of just want the bare minimum. So we do have 3 living logs with us, which we brought from the surface. If you remember, we got those earlier. So we want a Magiluminescence, 2 Starcaller staffs, and 1 deconstruction staff. Also some construction amulets and some Thulsite crowns if we have spare Thulsite. So we're avoiding combat where necessary, so if we have some knights chasing us, we'll just dodge them while we mine, and we hammer. And this is where we're going to get our gears. By hammering these broken clockworks, you have a pretty good chance of getting at least 1 gear, and some gems and frazzled wires. Now here you see I run into an area with loads of nightmare lights, so I immediately run away because I am just Wilson, so I do not have enough damage to kill like 5 nightmares at the same time. Now if the nightmare phase wasn't active, that means all the nightmare lights would be closed, so it would be completely safe to explore that area. Anyway, I find a broken station, so I kill the bishop and the knight that are guarding it, and we're going to build the stuff we want here. So a construction amulet, it has 5 uses and cuts the crafting cost of stuff in half. So that when we make the Starcaller staffs and the deconstruction staff, it only takes 1 of each gem rather than 2. Then we're just going to make a Magiluminescence. And then we're going to leave while being chased by some monkeys. So you'll see we didn't make any Thulsite crowns because Thulsite armor requires the full station, and I didn't want to spend Thulsite on repairing the full station. Wait, this goes to Pig King. Yo! We're gonna get Glommer, yes! And we managed to get back on the surface before day 11. I wasn't planning on this, but hey, it worked out. We got back on the night of day 11, so it's a full moon, so of course we can go get Glommer. Then we slaughtered a werepig, because he got in my way. And now here's the next big point of being an intermediate player. You should be very comfortable with being insane basically all the time. I will never be trying to increase my sanity unless I'm about to do a boss fight, like Bee Queen or something. And the reason why I'm ignoring my sanity is because, well, you get to ignore your sanity, so you don't need to farm any materials to try get your sanity up, for it just to inevitably be drained back down by evening time or whatever. So if you're quick and you have lag compensation off, you can do 1 hit, then step away, and then continue hitting the shadow creatures. Otherwise, if you're not quick enough to do that, just dodge 1 attack and then hold F, because every time you hit a shadow creature, they teleport. And they could teleport on top of you, which means they would immediately hit you unless you hit them first. So then I built some walls, and then we're going to the oasis to find some goats. And we did indeed find some goats. We're going to want at least 1 Vault Goat horn for spring, so we may as well kill them now that I happen to stumble across them during nighttime, which is probably the best time to kill them because they don't run away from you then. Also, make sure to leave 1 goat from each herd alive, otherwise they won't respawn. While we're in the oasis, we picked some cactus so that we can restore our sanity during the fight that we're about to start. That's right, we're going to fight Dragonfly in the Dragonfly Desert, so let's pause the fight and then go over to a test world to show you how to set up those walls. When the larvae spawn from any of these pools, the first thing they want to do is they want to go directly towards you. If they spawned from this pool and I'm standing here, they will travel following my cursor. It will go down like this until they get to me. But now we've put a wall down, if I'm standing here, the larvae will say, huh, I want to get to Wilson. Where's the most direct way to get to Wilson? They can't go through the walls, so they need to go around the walls. And the shortest path around the walls is by traveling into this lava pond. Now, the larvae see stone walls as obstacles, but they do not see magma pools as obstacles. Hence, if we stand here, a larvae from this pool will travel down this way, and then we'll get stuck on the lava pond. So we just have to do the same for the other side. Though, as you can see, if we built a straight wall like this, that would not block the larvae from this lava pond. So instead we're going to angle it. Now if I stand here, a larvae from this pond will get stuck here, a larvae from this pond will also get stuck here, and the other 3 ponds will of course get stuck here as well. So with the sine method, all I have to do, go to the center between 4 tiles, then go up 1 and across 1, like that. Build the sign there, and then build walls around this sign like this. Larvae also do not see signs as obstacles, so larvae from this pool would get stuck on the sign. Continuing with the fight, you will want to kite at least some attacks, or at least try to. So if you do 6 attacks, then step back a little bit, and then as soon as you see Dragonfly start his attack animation, you step back a little more. As you can see, if you do it wrong, Dragonfly will start moving, and if Dragonfly is moving before she starts her attack, she will continue moving throughout her attack, meaning it's really hard to dodge because she moves pretty fast. Now again, you probably should try to kite, because if you don't kite this fight at all, you need a ridiculous amount of football helmets and a ridiculous amount of pierogi. So just for reference, I bought 6 football helmets and 13 pierogi with some cactus to restore sanity, and my magiluminescence so I get a little bit more movement speed to make kiting Dragonfly a little bit easier. Now I'm just going to signify again the importance of stepping back a little bit after your 6th hit, and then waiting for the animation for Dragonfly to start attacking, and that's when you should step back more. And as soon as Dragonfly flies away to go spawn larvae, hide behind your walls and try to stand in a way that makes the magma pool in front of you be directly between you and the larvae. That way they'll get stuck on the magma pool rather than going around the walls. Uh-oh, the last larvae just died. That means Dragonfly has become enraged. What I recommend doing is stepping back until Dragonfly does his stomp attack, and then use the pan flute. If you're quick enough, you can just hit the pan flute before Dragonfly does his stomp attack, but if you mess up the timing and you're stuck there doing the pan flute animation and then he stomps, you'll receive tons of damage. So yeah, I'd recommend stepping back, then playing the pan flute to put him to sleep, and then just hit him to wake him up and continue the fight as normal. But sometimes, rather than going enraged, Dragonfly will just go and spawn more larvae. If this happens, it doesn't really matter, it just means the fight will take a little bit longer, and you save a pan flute use. And that will happen a total of 3 or 4 times. At the start of the next larvae phase, he spawned a larvae on this side of the wall. Don't worry, it's not a big deal. Dodge 1 attack, then do 6 hits, then dodge again. The most important thing to note is when the larvae does his attack, unless you're attacking him, the larvae will try to chase you, which will set you on fire. So dodge his attack, then keep hitting him 6 times, and then dodge again. And there you go, you've killed Dragonfly, good job. Now you've got a scaled furnace, which will be super useful for winter because now you have infinite heat at your base, which you could have killed Dragonfly before you go to the ruins if you want, because then you could use the gems in the ruins, but usually by going to the ruins you'll have enough yellow and green gems to do what you want, so this is kind of optional. So now it's day 16, we've been to the ruins, we killed Dragonfly, we still have some time before winter. So we're going to build a think tank, then we're going to build a boat and an oar using planks and logs. We're going to put down our scaled furnace in this position because it's close to our crock pots. Then we're going to put down our boat and start sailing. So yes, we are finding the Lunar Island, but first let's have a lesson on how to spot the Lunar Island. Now since it's out to sea, you can't see it from the land, but by looking at the mainland that you've already uncovered, you can guess where the Lunar Island will be. Now by this point you probably would have outlined most of the map, so let's look at an example. By looking at this map, can you see the Lunar Island? If you think you know where the Lunar Island is, just remember, now I'll give you a tip and then you can guess again. Imagine the entirety of the map has to fit inside of a square, so if you put the outline of a square around the mainland, now where is there a big gap in the square where the Lunar Island could actually physically fit? Now take another guess. Now let's give you another tip. Look for a part of the world where it looks like it would have been an entire circle except part of the circle was cut away. So now take another guess. Now here's the final tip, and it is a dead giveaway where the Lunar Island is. Look at all of those semicircles we've spotted, and now check the end of each of those semicircles. And you will notice some very clean straight cuts at the end of each semicircle on each of the ends. And the biomes at the end of each ends of the semicircle are quote unquote end biomes, so biomes that could generate on the end of a branch. Now take another guess. Ding ding ding, if you chose top left, you are correct, because as you can see, there are 2 end biomes connected by one big loop, and the biomes are cut in a very straight line on the edges, indicating that the Lunar Island is just away from them. Also, if you've put down your boat somewhere and then you're trying to find the Lunar Island, if there is water that isn't just shallow water, then the Lunar Island probably isn't there, because the water directly between the Lunar Island and the mainland will only be shallow water. Then we pick up a bit of driftwood that can spawn randomly on the ocean, and we go back to our base to build a driftwood ore. This driftwood ore makes you row a lot faster, and I found a salt formation, so I strategically bonk my boat into the salt formation to get 10 salt crystals. We're doing this because I want a salt box for my base, and I'll explain what that does later. Hey yo, look, it's the Lunar Island. So I set a tree on fire to get me nice and warm because for some reason I got wet on the boat, and we're gonna start looting the Lunar Island. When I say looting the Lunar Island, I mean digging up all of the stone fruit bushes and picking up all the bull kelp on the beach that you can find. Anyway, let's paddle our way back to the base, and we're back before day 19, look at that. Now remembering that we don't have a lot of room in our base and there's wildfires during summer, we're gonna plant our stone fruit bushes just above our base, just about one screen away, and put our salt box next to our fridge. Salt box can only store raw items, but it makes them spoil 4 times slower, whereas a fridge is only 2 times slower. And we're gonna put a pig house just above it because we're gonna turn this pig into a manure machine by feeding him 4 monster meat. Then we're gonna feed him all of the kelp fronds we got from the Lunar Island, and as you can see, I'm picking flowers and killing butterflies because every time the pig eats something that isn't meat, he will provide some poop, and with that poop we'll fertilize all of the rock fruit bushes. Then we'll plant all of our kelp fronds, our grass tufts, and our saplings. And luckily there is water nearby to my base, so the kelp fronds does need to be planted in water. So we're gonna go back into the caves to grab some more light bulbs before winter. Then we're gonna start digging up some turf for the base and exchange some frazzled wires for some gold from the Pig King. These frazzled wires we got from the ruins. Then we're gonna build a lightning rod because, you know, it started raining right before the winter, which always sucks, but hey, it can happen. And let's use that Starcrawler staff. Now this is very unfortunate. You can see it's raining and winter is just about to start. And if you haven't already, make a thermal stone. This is how we're gonna keep hot throughout winter, and that's been baking next to my furnace the entire time. So my wetness level is pretty high, so if this happens to you, just stand next to your furnace until you dry off, because being wet decreases your temperature very fast. And then it stops raining, I dry off, and then as soon as I leave the base, it starts raining again. Woo! Whatever, it's fine. Go kill the Mactusks now. You can see when you approach the Mactusk, they have an aggro animation, and while they're doing that, you can get a few hits in on him. Otherwise, ignore the hounds and just chase the Mactusk, and eventually the Mactusk will run so far away that the hounds will just ignore you. Then once you get him out of the way, you can kill the hounds. Of course, you're killing Mactusk first because he has a range attack, so you don't want to be getting sniped by him while you're killing the hounds. Now this is the triple Mactusk biome, so if you don't have this biome, don't worry, you still have one Mactusk camp in the Moonstone Forest, which we found earlier. It's a big forest with a green grass patch in the middle, with also the Moonstone in the forest as well. Now hopefully you'll get yourself a tusk and maybe even a tam o' shanter. And the primary way we're going to stay warm is of course using the thermal stone like I said, but also every time your thermal stone turns yellow, it's time to warm that bad boy back up again. So if you're not at your base, just set a tree on fire and drop your thermal stone near the tree or right on top of the tree. Anyway, back to the base, we're going to harvest those stone fruits while they're grown, and then we're going to hunt down one more Mactusk. This is the Mactusk that's hiding inside the Moonstone Forest. Now you can see here I used an ice staff to freeze the Mactusk. This method isn't too effective anymore since you can't stunlock the Mactusk anymore, so you have to use the ice staff a lot of times per Mactusk. But hey, we finally got the tusk. Now, ice is some easy peasy filler for the crockpot, but we also want 15 to make at least one ice filling mag for our base. So I'd recommend mine a stack or 2 of ice, that's about 40 or 80 ice. And don't forget your thermal stone. I had to set a tree on fire here because I actually forgot my thermal stone. Anyway, 2 gears, 2 electrical doodads, and 15 ice. We're going to put a flinger mag right in the middle of the base. Don't forget to check the mini base picture because that will tell you where to put the flinger mag. And then we're going to make ourselves a nice walking cane, which gives us a 25% speed bonus, which is very nice. Now we're going to head back to any of the forests and start chopping down dead trees. More specifically, evergreen dead trees, because each time you chop them you get 1 pine cone. Not only does this give you a chance at getting a tree guard, but it also means you get a lot of pine cones, which we are going to plant. And then we're going to use Deerclops to knock those trees over so we can get loads of wood. Usually the best way to get wood is using Bearger, but you know, we have to wait until like day 75 to use Bearger. Anyway, I got like 3 tree guards, so I have a lot of living logs now, but I also have over 100 pine cones. Now we need to know how to plant these. So Deerclops has a very small hitbox, so when he stomps on top of a tree, he needs to be right on top of the tree, otherwise he won't knock it over. So what this means is you have to plant the pine cones in an exact straight line, otherwise Deerclops will not knock them over unless you change his position. So I've got a big old long line, and then oh no, I run out of space. Just turn 90 degrees in one direction and yeah, keep planting in that direction. Now hopefully these trees will be fully grown by the time Deerclops spawns, but if they're only at their 2nd stage, it doesn't matter, as long as you get 1 pine cone back. Yeah, shadow creature, give me the nightmare fuel, because we're about to make the shadow manipulator. 1 purple gem, 3 living logs, and 7 nightmare fuel. Pre-craft that at the Prestidigitator Then we're going to harvest some stone fruit and harvest some bull kelp. Now these stone fruit can either give you a rock, a vegetable, or a very small chance at a stone fruit bush seed, but you have to mine them or blow them up with a gunpowder to open them, but we do not need this vegetables yet. So we're going to stockpile the stone fruits next to our crockpots. Then we're going to hammer down the prestidigitator and put the shadow manipulator down where the prestidigitator was. And we have made our very first dark sword. This is the best weapon in the game. And we're going to give the top hat that we got from the prestidigitator to a pig, because now he looks very handsome. After preparing some pierogies, we're going to go look for claws. So we found the deer. These can spawn in either the mosaic biome or either of the 2 deciduous biomes. And then we find the claw sack. Now, I did something stupid here. I wasn't planning on killing the Twins of Terror, but I did spawn them along with claws, and I made them fight each other, and it was quite fun to watch. Now, the reason this actually works is because the Twins of Terror are kind of clumsy, and they kind of just dash into whatever, so they'll end up killing one of Claus' deer, which will make Claus become enraged. And enraged Claus is pretty hard to kill. Now, Claus versus the Twins of Terror, sometimes the Twins of Terror win, sometimes Claus wins, so either way, one of the bosses are gonna die. But usually Claus will end up killing both of the Twins of Terror. The problem with this is that it takes 3 winter nights. So I'll cut to the chase and say I let them fight throughout the entire night of day 25, 26. To keep enraged Claus from despawning, I had to stay in the area, meaning I couldn't do anything. I had to just keep waiting for the next night. So yeah, I got bored, I ran away, I let enraged Claus despawn. Before I did that, at the end of day 26, the Twins did enter their second phase, so they were doing more damage, but you know, Enraged Claus hadn't even entered his second phase. But yeah, I was just going to put this in here because if you don't want to fight the Twins of Terror, but you still want their drops, you can just have Enraged Claus kill them. It will take 3 or 4 nights, but Enraged Claus will probably be able to kill the Twins. Anyway, so I ran away and we're fighting Claus about halfway through day 27. Now, I thought this fight wouldn't be very long, so I'd be able to fight the Twins at the end of the night so I could finish them off. But we'll see that that didn't happen. As for gear, we have a fresh handbat, a walking cane, and a magiluminescence. Now you do need these 2 bits of speed bonus, otherwise you might not be able to kite the second phase. But for the first phase, a walking cane is enough. But anyway, how do you kill Claus? Bait out his melee attack, do 4 or 5 hits if you're quick, and then bait out another melee attack, and then do 4 or 5 hits, and then he will try to cast his deer. Now he will alternate between the ice and fire deer, and depending which deer he uses, you should do some different things. If he uses the ice deer, you want to move almost immediately to the other side of Claus. This will leave the little ice patch on the other side of Claus, so when you run to the opposite side of Claus, you could do quite a few hits while he's stuck in his casting animation. Whereas the fire deer has a way longer casting animation, so you can do a lot more hits before running to the opposite side of Claus. You don't want to run to the opposite side of the Claus too fast, otherwise you'll make the ice or fire patch appear on the other side of Claus rather than the side that you were on initially. Also worth noting that if he casts, say, the ice deer, you should run between Claw and that ice deer. Because the deer is stuck in their casting animation, they won't attack you. If the ice deer was going to cast and you ran between Claws and the fire deer might melee you. Now, Claws has got to low enough HP that he's summoned 2 Crampi. You can bring a pan flute for this part of the fight to put everything to sleep, so you only have to deal with 1 Crampi at a time. If you timed it perfectly, you don't need any speed bonus to kite them, but it's much easier if you use a mag and or a walking cane. And after you've taken them out, you can start fighting Claws as normal again. And now, it's phase 2 time. So again, you have a mag and a walking cane, so you do have plenty of speed bonus to dodge the chomp. Now, there are 3 different ways you can dodge this chomp attack when he launches across the screen. You can stand right in front of him and wait for the last second right before he pounces and then walk away. And because you have enough speed bonus, you'll be able to dodge it. Your second option is safer, but you get less hits in, is before he does the chomp attack, you can just run really far away. Then you're simply out of his range so he won't hit you. Your third option is you can just hide behind the claw sack, because he'll get stuck on it, so he won't be able to hit you, since he can't go through it or destroy it. Otherwise, the fighting the pattern is the same, except you have to dodge his chomp attack every so often. Right when you kill Claws, the deer will try to get a final hit in on you, but it's fine. And as you can see there, the terrarium despawned right at the end of the night because I didn't press it in time. So if you didn't know, if you spawn the Twins of Terror and then don't kill them and then don't spawn them the next night over, then the terrarium just goes on cooldown. So that's kind of whack, but whatever, it's fine. Use Klaus's antler that he dropped on his sack and you will get 4 bundled supplies. Not only is this 1 wax paper per bundled supply, but you also get some presents inside. So one of these bundles will contain some random bosses loot, and one of them could potentially have a Krampus sack. The others will just have charcoal, life-giving amulets, and gold. Goodness gracious, a hound attack! So this is our first like mid-game hound attack. And we have bunnies to help us, but otherwise you can do 2 hits then dodge, or since you can kill hounds in 3 hits with a fresh hand bat, you can just do 3 hits, and by the time you land your 3rd hit, the hounds wouldn't have been able to hit you yet. So you can do 3 hits if you're fast. A general tip for hound waves is, if you're being outnumbered, just run away and find some mobs for the hounds to attack. Now every 3 times you harvest these stone fruit bushes, you'll need to fertilize them again to get 3 more harvests. But let's open up those claw sacks. So we actually got a Malbatross build, no Krampus sack, but that's fine. Malbatross bill is a very strong ore, meaning it's very good for sea exploration if you haven't done it yet. Now we're gonna make a golden garden hoe, and then we're gonna till our farm turf, and then plant all of our seeds, because we don't need the food, but may as well plant the seeds at some point. Now let's head back to the goats, and let's kill them. So remember, leave 1 from each herd alive. Each herd will have up to 6 goats, so make sure you just leave 1 alive. And we just want the 1 goat horn, but you know, if we get more, that's good, since we just want 1 for a morning star. Anyway, now it's the night of day 30, and do you hear that? So yeah, on the night of day 30, Deerclops will come unless you've messed with his spawner by not being on the mainland, but otherwise he'll come on the night of day 30. So what we're gonna do is explain how Deerclops spawns. After he's growled a bunch of times, your player will comment on like, oh, something's coming, and then the growl after that, Deerclops will spawn. Deerclops will spawn just off of your screen, but he can spawn anywhere around you. So that's why you should run away from your base and then place a sign, because as soon as Deerclops spawns, the first thing he does is target the nearest structure, and a sign counts as a structure, so he'll just come over to the sign and break it, at which point you can start fighting him and get his aggro. In our case, we're just going to grab his aggro and then take him to those trees that we planted. Unfortunately, our trees only grew to the 2nd stage, but it's fine. So again, you have to precisely position him over your trees, let him attack you every 10 or 15 seconds to make sure you retain his aggro, because as like all mobs, if Deerclops is not able to attack you, he'll eventually just de-aggro and leave you alone. And we don't want that, because then the first thing Deerclops will do is go for the nearest structure, which could be your base. And also here, my pigman attacks Deerclops. Now, when something like this happens, make sure you get Deerclops' aggro back as soon as Deerclops kills whatever attacked him, because as we should know by now, as soon as Deerclops is sitting there idle, he will immediately go to destroy some structures. If Deerclops is aggroed on you, Deerclops' attacks don't actually damage any structures. So you can see there, he did an attack right on top of my shadow manipulator, but because he was aggroed onto me, he didn't damage it, he didn't destroy it. So yeah, anyway, Deerclops has destroyed all of the trees for me, and 1 tree guard did spawn, but I forgot where it was. So we're gonna kill Deerclops ourselves. Now, I'm in kind of a dire situation because I don't have a lot of hunger, and my handbat isn't very fresh. But anyway, with a Magiluminescence and a walking cane, you can do 4 hits, then dodge. You can do 5 hits if you've got perfect timing, but it's a lot safer just to do 4. And because I recognize I need to kill Deerclops kind of fast because my hunger is low and I'm insane, I quickly pick up my dark sword so that Deerclops will die a little bit faster. Otherwise, same thing, 4 hits, dodge. And if a shadow creature comes, try to ignore Deerclops and kill the shadow creature to gain back some sanity. Ideally, you'll get a Terrorbeak rather than a crawling horror, since crawling horrors walk very slowly, so they'll usually sit right on top of Deerclops, which makes it really annoying to try kill them. Anyway, skipping ahead, Deerclops, it bites the dust, and make sure to grab that eyeball, because we're going to need that to make an eyebrow. Look at all this food I have in the fridge. Of course, using monster meat to repair the helmet, and once again, we're going to harvest the stone fruit. Now, by this time, you probably have a bunch of stone fruit ready to go, and that's good because when spring starts, we will be fighting a boss and we'll need a lot of food. Now, day 31 is your 2nd full moon, so if you haven't grabbed a Glommer, you can go do that because you are too busy ruins rushing, and I'm going to put 1 nightmare fuel into each of Chester's slots to transform him into Shadow Chester. All this does is it gives him 3 extra inventory slots. You could turn him into Ice Chester, which will make summer very easy. Ice Chester, you require 1 blue gem in each of his slots, so 9 blue gems, and it basically turns him into a portable fridge, which also cools down your thermal stones. That's why it's good in summer. Anyway, we already grabbed Glommer, so we don't have to do that again. We're going to make ourselves a sewing kit and the eyebrow ready for spring. using 4 bone shards, 15 twigs, and the eyeball. If you're confused where to get these bone shards, you could just, if you hammer some bones or skulls or skeletons around the world, or more specifically in the Vault Goat Desert, then you can grab 4 like that. Now, all of that wood Deerclops got you, pick it all up. It will take you a couple of days, but hey, it's worth it. Easy wood. Better than chopping it down yourself. And here, I'm crafting most of the logs into boards, but make sure you leave yourself a stack or 2 of logs, because it's just handy to have logs rather than all turning them all into boards. Anyway, mine some more ice if you're running low, and hey look, my plants grew. So if you don't need any of these vegetables now, just feed them to your bird, and then you'll get the seeds for that specific vegetable back, so you can use them later. Anyway, so I decided that I wanted some more silk, and so yeah, this is a spider quarry, so there's like a bajillion spiders, so be very careful when you're taking them out, because there's a lot of spiders out during dusk and night, so I'd advise just doing this at daytime rather than nighttime like I did. But hey, at least we killed a bunch of spider eggs and we got a bunch of silk. Alright, spring's about to start and we do need some more rocks, but more importantly, some nitrate to make a morning star, which is a good weapon when things are wet. And also, we're going to head to the mandrake forest and steal the mandrakes. There will be at least 2 mandrakes, but there can be up to 4. If you're not picking them during daytime, you have to hit them as they come out of the ground, otherwise they'll run away. The mandrake forest is a forest with a big green patch in the middle of it, and it will have a little savanna in it as well, so that's how you can recognize the mandrake forest. Anyway, we've been stockpiling all of this food from winter because it is time to make about 30 pierogies, and we're going to shave our beard. But first, let's get some safety precautions in. We're going to shave our beard to make a meat effigy. So now if you die, you can just revive yourself with the meat effigy no matter where you are, unless you're in the caves. Gonna craft ourselves 3 pan flutes using the 3 mandrakes we picked up, and the last harvest of the stone fruit bushes has been done. We're not going to fertilize the bushes again because we have a lot of rock fruit now. And right there, we made our morning star using 2 nitrate, 2 electrical doodads, and a vault goat horn. We're gonna go to a penguin nest where there will be a bunch of rotten eggs, and with that rotten egg, we're gonna make 1 single gunpowder, also using a charcoal and a nitrate. Now, this next part is very important. You can mine these stone fruits to get the fruit and the rocks inside, or you can split them into stacks of 10, not 40, 10, then drop them all on top of each other, and then drop the gunpowder on top of all of those stacks and light it on fire. Now, I'm not blowing open all of my stone fruits because I wouldn't use all of the vegetables I'd get, so I'm blowing open about half of them, but it's just so satisfying. Just watch. Also, make sure there's nothing flammable next to your gunpowder, because as you can see, the stone fruits blew open, but if there was something on fire, all of your sprouts and all of your vegetables would be set fire to, so make sure there's nothing on fire other than the gunpowder. Now, it just finished raining, so that means we want to start the fight pretty soon, because everything in the world is wet right now, and the world temperature is pretty low because winter just finished. This means it will take a while for everything in the world to stop being wet, so this is what we were waiting for. Ideally, we start the Bee Queen fight the moment it finishes raining, because then she'll be wet throughout the entire fight. And what this means is we can use the Morning Star, which, if you're fighting something that's wet, it does more damage than the Dark Sword, so ultimately it just saves you from using Dark Swords. But anyway, we're gonna cook about 30 pierogi, and we're gonna make enough Dark Swords just in case Bee Queen dries off halfway through the fight, because if she dries off, that means the Morning Star won't be doing a lot of damage at all. So on the floor here, I'm dropping 4 Dark Swords and 6 Beekeeper hats, and we are only using Beekeeper hats, no marble suits or anything. You can use marble suits, they'll just break really quickly, and the only thing marble suits do is just save you on eating as much food since you have more damage reduction. Then we're heading into the Dragonfly Desert to go grab some cactus, because if we do have to use Dark Swords, we are going to need some sanity food, because this fight will take a while. And because the fight will take a while, we're going to put some stars down using the Starcaller Staff so that we can actually see during the fight, although you technically don't need this because we're going to be using the Magiluminescence throughout the entire fight. Speaking of the fight, let's get started. Everything's set up, we're wearing the Magiluminescence, we've got the Morning Star, and we have Dark Swords just in case Bee Queen dries off. And we're going to start the fight by putting everything to sleep, killing all but one of the Grumblebees, and then we're just going to face tank Bee Queen, because this is the exact same method I use in most of my speedruns. The only difference is I don't do as much damage, therefore I need more food, because I'm playing Wilson rather than like Wander or Wolfgang. Now, if you were playing Wander or Wolfgang, it's like the same method, except you just need less food or less healing, because the fight won't last as long because you do more damage. And if you're playing Wendy, Abigail takes care of the Grumblebees, so you don't need to use pan flutes. But as you can see, I kept checking whether Bee Queen was wet or not, and you know, about 60 seconds into the fight, Bee Queen has dried off, so she's no longer wet, so now I have to use Dark Swords to kill her. And this is why I made lots of Dark Swords, because Bee Queen could just dry off, which she has. But the first phase is just this: kite the first attack, and then just face tank her, and then just face tank her until she flies away again, and then eat some food, and then rinse and repeat until she moves on to the second phase. Now, Bee Queen just screamed. That indicates we have entered phase 2. In phase 2, she's going to summon a bunch of Grumblebees, which, if you kill any of them, she'll just spawn more. So, we're going to keep putting those Grumblebees to sleep, and then 1v1ing Bee Queen. When they wake up and start approaching you, you just run away and then use the pan flute again, and then start attacking Bee Queen. Now, when you wake Bee Queen up by attacking her, she will fly directly away from you. So you can get some extra hits in, what you can do is attack her in a direction that makes her fly away from her Grumblebees. This allows you to get a few more hits in before the Grumblebees catch up to you. Anyway, repeat this until we enter phase 3. Spang, spang. Alright, now Bee Queen is phase 3. You can tell because she screamed again. Now in phase 3, she will scream, causing the Grumblebees to chase you. Now, you don't have to use the pan flute here. Right here, I didn't use the pan flute as an example. When she screams, the Grumblebees will chase you. So the idea is you run far away from Bee Queen, leading the Grumblebees as far away as possible, and then you run back to Bee Queen very fast with the Magiluminescence, or you can use the pan flute to put them to sleep, and then you can just 1v1 Bee Queen for a short time until the Grumblebees get back. Now, like I said, you don't have to use the pan flute for this phase, but if you do use the pan flute, it just gives you a little bit more time with Bee Queen every single rotation. You're probably noticing a pattern here, and the pattern is just finding a way to get rid of the minions so that you can 1v1 Bee Queen. Alrighty, we're on to the last phase. And so in phase 4, it's the same as phase 3, except she screams, causing her Grumblebees to chase you a little bit more often. Which is actually a good thing, because it means the last phase will be shorter than the second to last phase, since you can drag the Grumblebees away faster and more often. Otherwise, it's exactly the same. Also, one thing I didn't point out, Bee Queen usually spawns near a path, a natural spawning path, and you really do want to utilize this path because it makes you move faster, which really does make a difference. Technically, a walking cane and a Magiluminescence is enough to not get hit by the Grumblebees, but if you mess up and step diagonally rather than straight, then the Grumblebees might hit you, so just try to stick to the path. And after a very long fight, as it starts raining again, Bee Queen is dead. And this is also another reason why you want to start the Bee Queen fight right as it finishes raining, so that it doesn't rain during the fight, which will complicate things because you'll get wet. Anyway, she's dead. We now have Bundling Wrap, which is super powerful. Now you can just leave the area and these Grumblebees will eventually despawn, but you know, I want to pick up the loot in peace, so we're gonna kill them. And they're just like fighting any other normal bee. And this lure plant had the audacity to spawn in the middle of the fight. Give me that lure plant. We might actually want a lure plant for later. You'll notice I left my pan flutes at 10%, and that is because now we can use a deconstruction staff on each of the pan flutes to get the Mandrake back. Since Mandrake's the only renewable way to get another Mandrake is from claws, but that's not guaranteed, and it's only once per year. So we'll deconstruct the pan flutes to get my 3 Mandrakes back, and now with these 3 Mandrakes, you can just craft more pan flutes with 100% uses each. Gonna clean up the base a little bit by building a potter's wheel and feeding all of the figure sketches to the potter's wheel, because that's how you can build boss statues if you would like. Don't forget to pick your grass and twigs whenever they're grown, and after that, it's time to kill some Moose Goose, because Moose Goose drop their feathers, which are very useful for a few recipes. You don't need to kill all of the Moose Goose on the map. It's technically you only want like 5 or 15 feathers, which is enough, which you can get from killing one Moose Goose family, but I'm gonna kill all of them on the map just for good measure. Otherwise, Moose Goose do 3 hits then dodge. You can do 4 hits with enough speed bonus and if you time it right. And now these fights can be awkward because it's usually heavy raining during this fight, so you're going to be using the Morning Star if the Moose Goose is wet. But because it's raining, you might want to wear your umbrella, at which point you might want to bring a log suit for armor rather than helmet. And every 3rd Moose Goose hit, the Moose Goose will honk, making you drop your equipped weapon. Just be prepared to hit spacebar to pick it back up. And then once you're done, you'll be fighting some babies. Now you have 2 options. 1, wear your umbrella and a log suit so that you have lightning protection and armor in case you get hit. Option 2 is you can put down a lightning rod right near the nest. That way all the lightning will hit the lightning rod, and you could just wear a football helmet or whatever because you won't get hit by lightning. Now the problem with not wearing an umbrella is if you get hit by lightning, it stuns you in place for a couple of seconds, which means you can get hit, and if you're not wearing armor, you'll probably die. Now if the babies set themselves on fire from the lightning, don't kill them quite yet because they'll burn and you won't get any feathers. And once you kill a baby, don't let any other baby spin close by because it induces lightning. lightning, and it could hit the feathers that are on the floor. But since you're using a morning star, you want it to constantly be raining so that the next Moose Goose family you fight will also be wet so that you can use the morning star. So when the babies start spinning, make sure they induce lightning at least once. That will cause more rain to happen, and then you can move on to the next family. Now, since I have such a big excess of meat, we are actually going to bundle 4 stacks of food up. So 2 meats, 1 kelp stack, and one rock fruit stack. And then I'm going to go around slaughtering the rest of the Moose Goose. Now here's a good example. This is the quad Moose Goose biome, which means up to 4 Moose Goose nests can spawn. And during the night, you can get quite a few hits on the babies while they're snoozing. And now this biome is potentially quite dangerous because there is a bug that can happen where if there's, say, 3 nests worth of babies, when the mother Moose Goose comes down, all of the babies from all of the nests will follow one Moose Goose. Meaning, when you kill that Moose Goose, you'll have 3 nests worth of babies attacking you at once. And that's kind of what happens here. As you can see, this Moose Goose has a whole lot more babies than usual. So cutting to the end of the fight, you can see there's like 10 babies or something on me. So I'm just gonna run away because I would like some help when fighting these things. Because there's so many babies, you won't be able to get a lot of hits on a single baby before you have to dodge the rest of them. So you'd much rather just try to run away to separate them all from each other. I run back to my base where there's a lightning rod and a bunny and some tentacles in the swamp that can help me. And after my onslaught, I have a whole bunch of feathers, so we're going to be using this to make a luxury fan for summer, and we won't be using them, but we could use the feathers to make weather panes as well. I'm also going to deconstruct my morning star and then make a new one, that way it doesn't use up the Volca horn. Of course, you don't have to do this, especially if you have a lot of Volca horns. Speaking of which, let's go kill some more goats. And then to get the goats aggroed on us, we're going to use the ice staff, because goats, of course, naturally run away from you. So it's pretty hard to attack them, unless you use a ranged weapon to get that aggro. And because I used the morning star, it electrified the goats. That means I get electric goat milk on top of the rest of the drops. You can use the electric goat milk to make ice cream, which is 50 sanity per ice cream, which is pretty good, but we're not going to be using it. But I thought I would show you how to get it. But I'm going to use those royal jellies that I got from bee queens. 3 ice and 1 royal jelly will make some jelly beans, which heal you for 120 health over 2 minutes. And now, after stealing some turf or just making it yourself, let's decorate the base and it's going to look beautiful. And we're finally going to catch some fireflies so we can make a miner hat. Holy moly, I was meant to do that ages ago. But anyway, looking around the map, you can steal all kinds of turf. Wooden turf, carpet turf, and maybe some checkered turf. But now let's catch 8 bees so we can make 2 bee boxes so we can get some renewable honey for us. Now, 2 bee boxes is plenty for 1 person. You could probably get away with 1 if you looted it very often, but otherwise we're just going to make 2. You do require a honeycomb and 2 boards for each one, so go kill some killer beehives to get the honeycomb. If you ever need to catch bees when they're not actually naturally outside, you can set their beehive on fire, then put it out and start catching the bees. Also, it's very important to remember, all of the bees in the world during spring turn red, but that doesn't mean they're killer bees. There still are bees and killer bees, and only bees work for the bee box crafting recipe. I'm also placing the bee boxes about 4 or 5 tiles apart from each other. This way I can loot one and then immediately loot the other one, and I won't have to dodge any bee attacks. And I'm also putting down a lightning rod because just in case. The area I placed those bee boxes, there was already a bunch of flowers on the floor because it was near bee queen, so I didn't have to plant any of my own flowers, but otherwise you want about 5 or 6 flowers per bee box. Anyway, I stole some turf and then I'm crafting some marble into marble beans because this will make it so I can farm marble. Now, I'm not gonna lie, if you make a marble farm very early, you could just farm marble armor, which is 95% damage reduction. I'd say that's a pretty good strategy, though it does take a while to set up. Now, heading into the caves, we need 2 fossil fragments. At least 2. Getting more is nice, but we just need 2 for what we're doing next. And what we're doing next is building some walls because we're preparing for the moonstone event so that we can make a mooncaller staff. So mine the moon statues around the moonstone and then repair the moonstone with 1 moon rock. Pay attention to how I'm building these walls. Make a 1 wall unit grid space between the wall itself and the moonstone, because if you build the wall too close to the moonstone, then the creatures will be able to hit over the wall and hit the moonstone. But wait, won't the creatures just attack the walls? Yes, if you surround the moonstone entirely in walls. But we're not going to do that. We're going to surround 3 of the sides, and then on the front we're going to plant some fossils. These fossils do have collision, but enemies don't see them as obstacles, so they'll just run into them without thinking. They'll just get stuck on them. Quick, we got some time for turfing. Anyway, it's time for the event. So pay attention to the walls. This pig's gonna have to die because he disrupted me. Plug your lowest durability Starcrawler's staff into the moonstone and then place the fossils down. Now this setup does work, as you'll see, but the initial few hounds and pigs, as they spawn, they might attack the walls a couple of times until they squeeze into place. So don't intervene, everything's fine. As you can see, they are biting the walls, but once they get into place, they will eventually stop. But that's why we have 2 walls on the inside there. Again, you can make it so that they don't attack the walls at all, as long as you have like 4 fossils. Then you just have to put down more fossils and less walls on the front of the moonstone. But otherwise, this setup works just fine. And then all the remaining hounds and pigs will turn into moonstones, so mine them, hammer the fossils out of the way, and grab your new staff. This produces a polar moon, which cools you down. It cools you down quite a lot, actually. If you stand too close to it, it can make you start freezing. Let's turf the base, build some chests. I'm gonna store my stone fruit stuff over in these chests by the stone fruit bushes. Harvest the honey. And then we're gonna go steal some rocky and cobblestone turf from the mosaic biome. And we're gonna make some cobblestone with it, because we're gonna put cobblestone all around the base. Because lure plants' eye bulbs can't spawn on man-made turf, like cobblestone and carpeted, if we turf the entire base, that means we can safely plant lure plants in the base to bait out wildfires. If you didn't know, wildfires will prioritize hitting lure plants before anything else. So you can localize all of your wildfires to your base as long as you're close to the lure plant. And now our base looks amazing. Look at all this turf. Now we're going to build a nice chest here so we can store our tools so they're not littered all over the base. There is a hound attack happening, but what you can do, since we're based near a sinkhole, we can just jump inside the sinkhole and then come back out, and that will cancel the hound wave. And now finally, the last part of making the base look beautiful. With all of that wood we got, we're going to use the boards to make some chests and start storing all of our stuff in the chests. Unfortunately, we did run out, so we're going to leave some things on the floor, but it's all organized now. Anyway, let's make a sewing kit because we need to repair the umbrella, because we're going to be using the umbrella in summer. We also just made a luxury fan, and what this does is when you wave it and you don't have any insulation armor on, like a Tamojana, it reduces your temperature by 50, so you can just survive in summer with the umbrella and the luxury fan. Speaking of which, summer has just started. So I did put down a Mooncaller's staff right in the middle of the base. So if I'm in the base, I'll probably stay cool. Then we're going to head straight to the oasis and start fishing in the oasis. And look at that, we got a fashion goggles on the second fish. Now we're fishing for blueprints in here. First is the fashion goggles, and second is the desert goggles. You need the fashion goggles to make the desert goggles. So once you have the desert goggles, like I got just there, then you can run around the oasis while wearing the desert goggles, and your movement isn't restricted because you can wear the goggles. Now you could be here for days fishing, so I would recommend catch 10 fish, then come back a day later, because it takes a while for the oasis to refill. Anyway, let's prepare for the summer boss. I did plant some trees because I do want some more wood for some more chests. Let's make a bunch of log suits, make our desert goggles using pigskin and gold. And hey look, we found Antlion in the oasis. So we're going to feed him a cold thermal stone, and that will cause him to freeze, which means you can start the fight. Antlion's attack is he will spawn sand spikes beneath you that hit for very heavy damage. So if you just look where they are, you can move them. You can move just a little bit and you'll be able to dodge them. He'll also occasionally stop attacking you to summon more sand castles to stop you from escaping. Skipping to the end of the fight, it gets kind of nuts because the longer the fight goes on, Antlion starts attacking it way faster. Most important thing is just to make the fight over and done with as fast as possible. So don't stop hitting him while trying to dodge sand spikes, and eventually he'll die. He did rip through about 3 log suits, and I had to use 2 pierogi to heal at the end of the fight, but otherwise, there you go. That's how you kill the summer boss. While we're here, let's kill some goats. Heading back to the base, you can see there are some eye bulbs growing around my base. This is fine because they are growing outside of the base. You know the grass turf where I planted my grass tufts? One of them did grow there, but it's fine. What this means is that if a wildfire happens in this area, it will hit that lure plant, and that is within the range of my Flingomatic. Now you'll notice that I'm trying to stay away from my stone fruit bush farm and my tree farm unless it is dusk or night, because wildfires don't happen during dusk or night. But otherwise, if you have a similar base setup like this, do not go near your stone fruit bushes during daytime because they might get caught on fire by a wildfire. Now, taking our living logs, thulsite, gems, and nightmare fuel, we're heading back to the ruins because I want to make some dragonfly chests. So we do need some more stuff, mostly deconstruction staffs. So we're going to go back to the part of the ruins that we didn't clear, and we're going to kill these bishops. I got 2 rooms with 8 statues in each of them, but that also means that there's 2 bishops in each room. So you know, I had to tank 4 bishops as Wilson. And then right here, right before I'm about to take a hit, I put on my football helmet just so that my log suit preserves a bit of its durability. And there we go, the delicious loot is all ours. Now, in our Ruins Rush earlier, we didn't kill Ancient Guardian. Fortunately for us, there is a really nice safe spot right here. If you want to know multiple methods to safe spot Ancient Guardian, go watch my Ruins Rush guide, but otherwise, hiding behind the pillar is a pretty good method. And after way too many Dark Sword hits, Ancient Guardian finally dies. And we do get the Ancient Guardian horn that I'm not going to use, and the chest we got was garbage. We got Nightmare Fuel, purple gems, and like nothing. It was so bad. Let's go back and loot up the entire ruins. And I'm also going to smash these semi-repaired stations because extra Thulsite. Although, as you can see here, this is probably the worst possible spawn. I got 2 spitters and I got a nightmare creature. And I have a natural nightmare creature. So I don't have a lot of armor left. In fact, by the end of the fight, I only have a 9% log suit. We have found the full station. And of course this is guarded by 2 bishops, so we're going to get the armor ready and start spanking. Now it is worth noting that if you don't have a lot of armor left, you can rush in here and make a crown before either of the bishops start attacking you. But I had a log suit and a football helmet, so I'm good to go. Anyway, let's get crafting. Of course, probably going to want to use a construction amulet for almost everything. I didn't use a construction amulet to make a lazy explorer because I'm not going to use the orange gems for anything else. Otherwise, I'm going to spend my Thulsite and my construction amulets on crowns and deconstruction staffs. So now this is a puzzle chest, and so what you're meant to do is put 6 items in it and then it gives you something back, right? So don't fill the chest up completely because it will chuck all your items out. So I'm just going to put items in there to store them, so stuff I don't need like the horn. And then we're going to grab everything we made and we're going to head our way out. It's also worth just leaving the ruins gems down here since you can't use them on the surface. After putting down a Mooncaller staff, we're just going to organize our little like magic storage area, so where we're going to store our gems and stuff. Gems, staffs, and amulets and stuff like that. We're going to use a construction amulet here, but to half the cost of a weather pane, because a weather pane costs 10 moose goose feathers, gear, and a vault goat horn. Now the reason we're making this is because I want to show you how to chop down trees when you don't have Bearger or Deerclops to chop them down for you. But first, we're going to go to Pig King and give him all of that frazzled wires and get some gold. Now I didn't pick up all of it because as you can see, my gold chest is very full. Anyway, dusk has started during summer, so it's safe to go to my trees, and all you have to do is cast a weather pane and it'll knock down trees. Now usually the weather pane will knock down up to about 5 trees. If you cast it on a tree, it will usually hit the trees around it as well. So there you go, 60% of a weather pane took out 40 pine cones that I planted. So there you go, I used up about 2/3 of a weather pane and it took out 40 trees. And by the time the night ends, we've picked it all up just about. Finally going to finish off the chest collection. Now we've got a beautiful 4x4 area of chests. I'm also going to plant the lure plant down near the bottom of my base. That way the eye bulbs won't grow next to my grass, tufts, and saplings. We've geared up because we're going to fight Dragonfly again, because I want another Dragonfly scale so that I can duplicate the Dragonfly scales using the construction staffs. I'll show you how to do that later. But anyway, let's do the Dragonfly fight. It's exactly the same as before, except this time I have a Magiluminescence, Dark Swords, and Thulsite crowns, so the fight is just easier. But since it's still summer, I start overheating, so I put Dragonfly to sleep while I go grab my Mooncaller staff. I did put a moon next to that lava pond, but apparently that wasn't enough, so put down another one and we're good to go. Goodness gracious, a hound attack while I'm trying to kill Dragonfly, so I preemptively put Dragonfly to sleep, and then of course he wakes up right as the hound wave kicks up. Anyway, because the fight's the same, I skipped mostly through it, and Dragonfly's dead. Yippee! We're going to use that lava scale to make some scaled flooring. This scaled flooring, if you deconstruct it with a deconstruction staff, you get 1 scale from each of them. But I head back to the ruins because I did not make enough deconstruction staffs. Now we've acquired more Dragonfly scales. With these Dragonfly scales, we're actually just going to craft some more scaled flooring so we can keep duplicating it. Because at the end, I want 6 scales for 6 scaled chests, and I want 6 scaled floorings, so I need 7 scales in total. So I'm going to put that flooring down, and then we're going to plant some trees, because it is autumn. And who spawns in autumn? Bearger. Bearger is very good for knocking down trees. He's the most destructive boss out of all of them, but I'll show you how to do that in a second when Bearger actually spawns. Now you can pay attention to how precisely I am placing these chests, because I'm placing them in between geometric placement tiles. Well, just the scaled furnace, not the mini chests. Or you can just look at the mini base picture in the description. I decided I wanted some cave rock turf rather than this checkered turf. I thought it would look cool. So I went and stole some of that and then it got turf in. And do you hear that roar? Sounds like a Bearger to me. So anyway, with Bearger, similarly to Deerclops, he will spawn somewhere around you. So what you can do is just run up against the edge of the map and he'll spawn on the same landmass that you are on. This is specifically helpful because sometimes if you're standing in the middle of nowhere, not close to the edge of the world, they can spawn anywhere around you, so it can take you a while to actually find Deerclops and Bearger because like they can spawn anywhere around you. And unlike Deerclops, Bearger doesn't try to break anything, he just goes towards wherever there is food. He has a certain range. Now as I'm demonstrating here, the most basic way to bait out Bearger's destructive charge attack is you let him swipe at you 3 times, and that happens to be enough time for his charge attack to come off of cooldown. So after the 3rd attack, you run far away and then Bearger will chase after you, stomping and breaking any trees in the path, and then finishing the charge with a big stomp attack. Now here a tree guard gets on Bearger. Bearger can take on usually 2, maybe 3 tree guards, but after that he'll probably die if there's too many. But otherwise you could just put everything to sleep to get them off of Bearger. But anyway, let's take him back to the base where we planted these trees. Again, make sure you retain Bearger's aggro, otherwise he might go stomping into your base. We're baiting out 3 attacks and then running far away so that he can do his charge attack to knock over as many trees as possible. It's worth noting that if Bearger just walks over trees without running, he knocks down the tree but you don't get any wood from it. So he does need to charge over them. Or do an attack over them. Or do an attack like a swipe attack or his pound attack. My trees weren't fully grown, but it doesn't matter. You still get loads of logs, but you can wait until your trees are fully grown. Anyway, so once he's done chopping all those down, I take him back to the original forest that he spawned in and I let the tree guards kill him. It's very rare that you actually need to kill Bearger yourself because you can just let tree guards do it, but if you are, just do a 3 attacks, then dodge, and then every 3rd Bearger attack, step back because he's going to do his pound attack. Otherwise, now we can make an insulated backpack. This is a normal backpack, except it preserves your food as much as a fridge, including your handbat. So if you're using a handbat as a weapon still, you can store it in your backpack and it will spoil twice slowly. Anyway, now you probably have enough wood to finish off your chest zone, so make more scaled chests. We're going to have 6. Each scaled chest will store each different type of gem, which there are 6. And then in the mini chests, we'll have the staff and the amulet of the respective gem. So a yellow gem will have a Starcaller's staff and a Magiluminescence, for example. And that's it. We killed a bunch of bosses that we didn't do in the beginner's guide. We've improved the base by building scaled chests, and we cleared the ruins a bit more. So let's compare this base with then the perfect mini base example. Pretty darn close, I'd say. So I hope you found this video useful. This is the sequel to my beginner's guide, so it was meant to build upon everything you learned in the beginner's guide, hence why I may have skipped over a lot of the basic stuff. But otherwise, this took way longer than I expected. This took me nearly 2 weeks. I thought it would only take 1 week. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. Leave a comment telling me what you learned or any other tips for any other intermediate players. And I will see you in the next video, which will be the Weber All Boss Run. Take care, everyone.